Wait a minute, I hear something.
Dr. Movie! Dr. Movie! Blueberry News! Dr. Movie! Dr. Movie! Yeah!
Well, hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Movie Show. Boy, that almost came out as that was almost Randy Newman. Y'all come on back to Dr. Movie Show. Boy. That's a good way to run off new people, right? They have no idea what I'm doing here. Which, I don't really know what I'm doing either. So, anywho, talking about another movie that I checked out on Tubi. You know me, I'm a sucker for artwork, and there's certain words when you put them together, I'm like, okay. When you say stuff like ninja versus aliens, count me in. Well, this one happens to say Werewolf Castle. So the first thing I automatically think of is Young Frankenstein. When he goes, werewolf, he goes, their wolf. What do you mean? Their wolf, their castle. Why are you talking that way? Well, I thought you wanted me to. So, there you go. Their wolf, their castle. So, Werewolf Castle from 2021. It is a horror action flick. Very low budget. Took a chance on this. It's got ratings of like a 3.7 out of 10. And I see why. But we're going to talk about some other reasons too. Let's see. There's not a lot of information here on this movie. So I'm going to have to pull up IMDb so we can check it out. This movie is directed by Charles Steeds. I think he's made some other horror movies, like more recent, low-budget kind of movies, and he wrote this as well. Extremely low budget. I couldn't find the budget of this movie because I was interested in what it would be. Let's do a synopsis here. Village boy Thorfinn accompanies a group of knights on a dangerous quest to end a werewolf invasion. I mean, yeah, right? So, we're talking medieval movie where medieval knights are fighting werewolves. I mean, does that not make you go, okay, right? As far as a cast, I didn't recognize anybody. So sorry if I'm skipping somebody that you're fond of that's in this. Don't really know, right? I don't really see a why to watch for this. I do know that it's got a couple of different titles. It is known as Werewolf in England in some areas, but on Tubi it's Werewolf Castle. Okay, we're just gonna jump into it. This will be a short one, I think. You know me, I just recently did a run of werewolf movies, and I still can only count good werewolf movies on one hand, and probably not even a whole hand. Sorry if you're a huge werewolf fan, but they just missed the mark. There's 4, maybe 5 good ones, and the rest fall short. In a lot of ways, this one falls very short, because the werewolves themselves are not good, which is always a problem. But here's the interesting thing. This movie delivers something different that I really like. This movie, I'm jumping way ahead here. I would love to see a big budget company get their hands on this movie and make it proper. And it would be awesome, because the idea, the concept, everything here, I love it. I mean, Why somebody hasn't done this before, I don't know. But the concept of this movie, I think, is fantastic. And because of that, I kept watching it. It's supposed to be set back in medieval times. You kind of get taken out of it because, when you don't have the budget to really make it look like medieval times, that kind of hurts it. The acting's just kind of it's okay. And the werewolves are about as crappy as you're going to get as far as any kind of modern movie anyways. It is just dudes in werewolf outfits that look like they just went down to Hobby Lobby or whatever and bought them. And again, I'm not trying to beat this movie up because of its shortcomings. But if they would only show parts of the werewolves, I think it'd been a lot better. But they spend a lot of time showing whole body, and that's not a good thing. Because you can basically tell it's a werewolf suit and a dude with shoes with hair on it, right? I mean, they're even shaped like shoes. So, kind of hurts it. But when you set that aside, the whole concept of what's happening here, I think, is fantastic. So we got a young boy in a town, kind of very Excalibur, where he's the young kid and he's not allowed to be a man yet, right? Except even though he's out in the barn fooling around with his girlfriend, he's supposed to be watching his little brother. His little brother wanders a little too far out of town, runs into this David Carradine wannabe playing a flute, but he's got fangs, which is always a dead giveaway of who do you not talk to. And he starts talking to the boy, and then behind him you start seeing some werewolves come up. And this guy is like the leader of these werewolves. And of course they attack the boy. And then they come and attack this village and pretty much kill everybody in it but a handful of people. So the leader of this village says, we have to get a hold of the king that runs this area and tell him what's going on and ask for some help or assistance or something to come stop this evil, because it's just going to spread. So it's very Lord of the Rings of that aspect, right? So what do? They call in some bounty hunters to come in, and they're all supposed to be the best of the best, and some of them are some renegades, and there's 4 or 5 of them, and they're going to go try to get to the castle of the king and warn them. Well, our boy wants to go with them because his family's been killed, his girlfriend's been killed, he's seen it firsthand, and he wants to go, and they're like, no way, we're going to take you with us, right? But they end up letting him go, and he ends up proving himself here and there throughout the thing. And, we get battles along the way against the werewolves and stuff, and some of our guys get kind of knocked off, which is, it's expected, right? It's textbook when it comes to this stuff. But the fact that you're taking this journey, and that's why I think people are forgetting about this one, because it says horror action movie, but really it's more of an adventure flick when it comes down to it. And, we're fighting these werewolves, and, they're taking these guys into a cave and torching them or eating them, and they turn one of them into another werewolf, so they're growing in multitude and taking over and creating this army, right? Well, it comes down to it, all these tough guys are getting knocked down one by one. They end up finding one of them got kidnapped by the werewolves, and the young boy ends up going in and saving him and releasing him. And they take him and they're carrying him. They're trying to find some help for him because he's been stabbed or bit or whatever. And they just happen to run into a couple that lives out in these woods. One happens to be a blacksmith, and the lady is a healer. Wow, how convenient, right? So, they're trying to fix this guy and get him some food and all this stuff. And then they pull a Texas chainsaw on us here. They are allowed to stay alive by the werewolves if they will help them take care of things. And they're also making food and stuff out of the leftovers from the werewolves' meals. So they're feeding, this this military guy, leftover people in like a stew. So there you go. I mean, so you're seeing where you're kind of pulling from all these different movie ideas. And the werewolves show up, we get a showdown there. And then again, like I said, the blacksmith you find out as well is kind of pitching for the other team, so you get a big fight there. And it all leads down to two of them being left, which is, I can't remember the main characters, or I remember the main character, but the secondary character, I can't remember his name. I'm looking real fast. Yeah, I can't find it. Like Skull Smasher or something, like Skull Basher, something to that extent is his name. Which he's the rough and tumble guy that doesn't want the kid to go, and he's always rough on him, and you don't deserve to be here, yada yada. Comes down to him and our boy being the only survivors. And it gets to a point to where the werewolves are coming after him, and Skull Basher's been shot by some arrows, and he just can't go on, so he gives the boy his sword and says, "Go on to the castle, I'll try to hold him here." You get a confrontation between, like I said, David Carradine, Three Dog Night singer, werewolf guy who's got fangs with a speech impediment because, it's hard to talk with those fangs in your mouth. And he holds his crossbow up to Bone Smasher's head like he's gonna, pop him one. And then it cuts away, and it goes to our hero of the story climbing up the countryside, climbing up a mountain to the top where the castle is, and getting in the castle and finding out that the castle is full of werewolves. And he meets the king, and the king is wanting to use, he's behind all of it. So again, very Lord of the Rings, Saruman kind of thing here, right? He's for the other side. He's wanting to use the werewolves to take over even more continents and stuff. So there you go. There's your story. I'm going to kind of leave it there because I honestly, this is not a good movie, but there's something about it that keeps it from being a bad movie. It should fail. In a lot of ways, it does fail, but there's certain things that it totally redeems itself. And again, just the storyline, I think this is solid. So I want to give this movie credit where it's due. This is a good original idea, if you want to say original. It's taking several stories we love and mashing it together. But hey, isn't that pretty much what any story is? So it's taking the best elements from stories that we love and putting werewolves in it. Again, if somebody took this and used, what they used in maybe Underworld or something like that for the werewolves, and gave it more of a, Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings kind of look, this thing would be awesome. And so I would dare say probably more entertaining and a lot shorter than the Lord of the Rings movies, right? The concept is there. It just needs picking up and done right. So, hey, this guy wrote it, he directed it, probably produced it too, so gotta give him credit. But it does fall short, but I think, especially if you're a horror fan, if you're a werewolf fan, you need to check this one out. It's not that bad. You're gonna see the shortcomings of it, and you just kind of have to go, right? But I'm telling you, story-wise, pretty dang cool. And there's nothing cool to see this young guy going through these remains of a castle, swinging his sword around like he's Ronnie James Dio in the Holy Diver video. I mean, it's kind of the feel that it has, right? So yeah, man, I should bash this one, and I should throw it on the lump of werewolf movies that I just go bleh, but I can't, because I think it really takes it somewhere else, and I kind of enjoyed it. The acting's not great, the dialogue's okay, the accents are all over the place, the outfits are good, Now I'm talking about the armor type outfits for our heroes and stuff. I think the armor is pretty good. It just looks too new. It doesn't look worn. And like I said, the werewolves are probably the weakest thing, but there's enough action in here. And if you just go with the story, you kind of overlook that factor. I think going into this expecting a werewolf movie, you're going to be disappointed for sure. But if you go into this and you think of it as an adventure movie like Lord of the Rings, Kroll, anything like that, I think you're going to come away going, it's got the potential. This is the kind of movie that needs to be remade. So there you go, folks. That's it for this one. I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Almost a 4. Watch it for yourself. It's on Tubi. And let me know what you think, right? You need to just check it out. Just hang with it. I'm telling you. And you're going to say, it kind of sucked, but it's kind of awesome at the same time. So there you go. All right, folks, that's it for this one. We will check you later.
Dr. Luby!